Hi, welcome to Budget MTG Decks. All magic fun, all cards under $1. I'm David.
I'm Stefan.
And today we're going to be looking at all the blue cards in Aether Revolt.
So we're going to evaluate them for limited, so draft or sealed. And in your pre-release pack, there will be 4 packs of Aether Revolt and 2 packs of Kaladesh.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're going to be using our own tier system to evaluate these cards. Tier 1 basically means, oh my god, that's your limited bomb, it's going to be winning you the games. Yes, I want to play that color because I got this card. Tier 2 is, this is a really good card. If I'm already in that color, this pushes, it's an auto include, but if you got a couple of these tier 2 cards, then you're going to be pushed into that color. Then finally tier 3, those are your filler cards, use those to smooth out your mana curve. And finally we've got the cards you just put aside. We don't really have a tier, just they're situationally good, but don't play them. Alright, so let's get started with the common cards. Our first blue card is Take Custody. For 1 blue, it's an instant that allows us to tap target creature, and then that creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap phase. Now, on the surface, it looks pretty good. You're like, oh, they're bombed, you know, I'm gonna tap it, they can't attack, and then next turn they also can't block with it, they can't attack with it next turn. Super great. On the other hand, it's just delaying the inevitable. You're not really stopping anything, you're not really changing the battlefield. I think you should put this card aside, because I just don't think it does enough.
Exactly. It's a nice cantrip, but it doesn't really do anything.
Well, it's not a cantrip because it doesn't draw you a card.
Exactly.
So not even a cantrip. Yeah.
So not even.
No, not even. Just put it aside.
Yeah. So next one, negate. 1 on a blue, instant, counter target non-creature spell. We've seen this one before, and it's just put aside because in limited you can't counter removal or something like that, but it will be one with creature combat, and this will not counter any creatures.
Yeah.
So just put it aside.
Yeah. It doesn't stop your opponent's game-winning cards.
Exactly.
Usually. Next card is Aether Swooper for a 1 and a blue. So for 2 mana we get a 1/2 flyer. And it also, when it enters the battlefield, gives you 2 energy. Cool. But does it do anything with the energy? Yes, because whenever this guy attacks, you get to pay 2 energy, and then we get to create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. That is really strong. Already just for 2 mana, having a flyer, I'm happy with that. For 2 mana, having a flyer that you can attack with. Top of that, gives you the energy late game, which you can maybe use for something else. But it can also use it itself to create another 1/1 body, and maybe use other energy you've saved up late game to make a 1/1 every turn. So I think there's not a moment in the game when this card is not useful, and I would say that's why auto included if you're in blue. Tier 2.
Exactly. Just the 1/2 flying is already just a good filler.
Yeah.
So next one, Ice Over. 1 on a blue, enchantment aura, enchant creature or artifact, and enchanted permanent doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. You have to remember that it doesn't tap itself, but it's just really good removal, because in blue you probably won't have much else.
Yeah.
So you have to remember that, and if you're in blue, just play it because it will be removal.
Yeah, and even if, let's say, you're not in blue, but you got a couple of these cards, remember, for 2 mana, you're eliminating not only their most powerful creature after they've attacked with it once, but maybe also their most powerful artifacts that they may want to use.
Exactly.
So that is really, really strong.
Yeah, so it will also get rid of vehicles, and that's what you have to think about too.
Yeah, very, very good. Remember, it only really works after they've already tapped it, but
yeah,
you know, sometimes you can also just already play it on the creature, and they may be dissuaded to attack with it because they think, well, then it's going to tap, and then I can't use it anymore afterwards. So now at least I'm going to just save it to block.
Exactly.
Next, we have Implement of Examination for 3 mana. It's an artifact. We get to pay a blue and sacrifice it to draw a card. And additionally, when this thing goes into the graveyard from the battlefield, we also get to draw a card. Now, we've seen these implements before, and they're not very good in the white one. This one's much better, right?
Yeah, I mean, for essentially 4 mana, you get 2 cards, which isn't great, but if you need a filler, this will be it.
Exactly. Okay filler, especially because we have Improvise in this set, which allows artifacts to help pay for the cost of other things, so it is a little bit better than it would be at face value.
Exactly.
So what's the next card?
So next one, Watchful Automaton. It's 3 mana, it's a 2/2 construct, and for 2 and a blue, you can scry 1. It's important that it doesn't have to tap to scry 1. So if you play it on turn 6, you have played 3 mana, and then you can pay 3 mana to scry 1. And you can scry on every single turn or whatever. So I really like this one.
Yeah.
Because 3 mana, 2/2, like we said before, it isn't that bad. And with the scry 1 is like they've always says, have a card.
Yeah, in limited, it's very important. The reason why some cards are really good is because they're good early game and they're good late game.
Yeah.
That's what makes some cards go from okay to really, really strong. This is a perfect example of that. Not only that, but also because it's just 3 color or generic mana to play, you can play it in other colors and just have the blue be splashed or have it as a 3rd color, and you're still going to get value off it early game, and later on when you've got all your colors, you're going to be able to get value out of that out of that ability as well. I think it's very strong. It's a mana sink, which is good, and as well 2/2 body can still chump block and still trade with certain things for only 3 mana.
Exactly.
Good deal, very good deal.
It just does something on every point of the game, and that's important.
Perfect. Tier 2, I would say. If you're in blue, then it's auto include, and if I would still use it as a filler, even if I wasn't. Actually, no, I wouldn't. I would splash for blue if I wasn't in blue. Absolutely. Next card is Metallic Rebuke for 3 mana. For 2 and a blue, so for 3 mana. It's an instant with improvise, so potentially we could play it for 1 blue if we had 2 artifacts to help us pay for it.
This is the first improvised.
It is the first improvise, so let's have a look at it. So improvise. Your artifacts can help cast the spell. Each artifact you tap after you're done activating mana abilities pays for 1 generic mana. So basically you can tap your artifacts that you already have on the battlefield to pay for 1 generic mana. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. So it's kind of like a mana leak, a little bit stronger version of that. Of course, you have to pay more, or you have to have the artifacts. I don't like these kind of. It is a hard counter, which I do like about it. On the other hand, late game, people may have that extra mana just laying around, and then it just doesn't counter anything, which I really don't like. So that's why I would put it aside.
Yeah, it's because it's already 3 mana, and you have to keep that open. That's just difficult.
Yeah, and think about it. If you really want to be casting this turn 2. For 2 mana, that means you have to have played an artifact on turn 1. It's just unlikely that you're going to be getting a great deal out of it.
So next one, Hinterland Drake. 2 and a blue. It's a 2/3 Drake with flying, but it cannot block artifact creatures. I mean, it's a 2/3 with flying for 3 mana. You're probably attacking with it anyways.
This is so good. I think this is so strong. Think about those 2/2 flyers for 3. This thing can attack into those, doesn't care. It can block those, doesn't care. It's dealing damage in the air. I don't see a situation if I'm in blue where I don't want to include this as my 3-drop. It's just so strong. And sure, okay, you can't block those 1/1 servos. Fine, and I'll attack you with a 2/3 flyer.
Exactly.
Right? So that's definitely tier 2. I think a couple of these will definitely push me into blue. The next card is Leave in the Dust for 3 and a blue. So for 4 mana, we get an instant that states return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand and also draw a card. So it's a nice little cantrip. This card is okay. I'd say tier 3 because as far as removal is concerned, you're not really getting rid of it permanently. On the other hand, you're also not really losing a card because you're drawing something, and it hits everything. And non-land permanents. So you're going to be able to hit those artifacts, those creatures, enchantments, planeswalkers, whatever you want. So as far as blue's concerned, I think it's actually pretty okay.
Exactly, you can bounce someone's bomb, it has to use a turn to cast it again, they have to wait a turn before you can attack again. Right. So that's why I really like this one. It's just a good filler.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So the next one, Shipwreck Moray. 3 and a blue, it's a 0/5 fish, and when he enters the battlefield you get 4 energy counters. And you can pay an energy counter to give it +2, -2 until end of turn. So it's a 0/5, a 2/3, or a 4/1. But it only has 4 uses until it uses up its own energy.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't really like it as much, because it has used energy. So for me, it's a tier 3.
Yeah, exactly. 0/5 of course does nothing, so you do need that energy for it to be useful. And at 4 mana, you may have something that's a little bit better.
Yeah.
But, you know, you can still use it as a filler.
I mean, it's 0/5 blocks everything.
True, that's absolutely true. Dispersal Technician is next for 4 and a blue, so for 5 mana we get a 3/2 Voldalken Artificer. The body is
Yeah,
you know, you're not too happy about that?
5 mana 3/2 is just not what I want.
Not what you want, no. And when this guy enters the battlefield, you may return target artifact to its owner's hand. Sure, there's a lot of artifacts. You may hit their artifact bomb or their great vehicle. Sure, that's a possibility. It's also a possibility that you're just going to return a 1/1 servo token, which is okay. You know,
Yeah,
it's okay, but it's just okay.
Yeah, I mean, for 5 mana, a 3/2 bounce a surfer token, remove a surfer token isn't that great, but isn't that bad either. So it's just a tier 3, it's good filler.
This is the epitome of basically what we've been looking at with these cards, is that they're all playable.
Yeah.
These cards are all playable, and that makes it almost seem like we're negative about certain cards because we think, well, but the other stuff is also so playable, so then this one's maybe less playable. On the other hand, we seem overly excited because we think, hey, we compare it to Kaladesh, we think, hey, these are super great.
Yeah.
You know?
So that's
tricky.
Yeah, because a lot of these cards is just really solid, like we said before.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's difficult.
Yeah.
So last one of the commons, Bastion Inventor, 5 in a blue. It's a 4/4 Vidalcan Artificer with Improvise. So it's 6 mana, but it can also be less.
Maybe, yeah.
And for 4/4, and it has hexproof. So 4/4 hexproof is one of the biggest things. And for 6 mana, 5 mana is actually pretty decent.
Absolutely, it's going to be very hard for people to attack into you when you got this guy if you just keep it as defense, because you're always going to be able to choose what you use to block, who you're going to block with it, and then they can't remove it any other way because their removal spells don't really work against it because it's got hexproof, so it's going to be a very, very strong card. If you can get it for 5 mana, then you really got yourself a great deal already.
Exactly.
It only requires 1 artifact.
Exactly, so if they have to kill it with their own combat tricks.
Yeah. Perfect. That is a great tier 2 for the last of the commons. Let's have a look at the uncommons.
For the first uncommon, we have Skyship's Plunderer. It's 1 in a blue. It's a 2/1 human pirate with flying, which isn't bad at all because it's flying, so that's nice.
You make it say isn't bad at all. You should actually say it is really good.
You know I don't like the 1 toughness.
You are a hater on the 1 toughness, but it's 2 what it is. Sorry, I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna let you finish, but this is the best card ever. No, I'm kidding. Please proceed.
So, whenever Skyship Plunderer deals combat damage to a player for each kind of counter on target permanent or player, give that permanent or player another counter of that kind. So, you can get extra energy counters, you can extra +1 counters, or whatever. So, that's really nice. And with the evasion, it just helps that.
Yeah, 2 damage in the air from turn 3 onwards while you're attacking is going to be sick. I can't see a scenario where I'm playing in blue and I'm not auto-including this thing.
That is true. Doesn't mean I do not like the 1 toughness.
Sure, you can hate on it all you want. It's going to be winning games, I think. Shielded Aether Thief is next for 1 in a blue. So for 2 mana, we get a 0/4 Vidalcan Rogue. It has flash, cool, and whenever this guy blocks, you get an energy counter. Additionally, you can tap and pay 3 energy counters to draw a card. So how does this work? Turn 2, you're not playing anything, you're keeping your mana open. They maybe attack you with something, and then you can flash it in, block immediately, you get that 1 energy token counter, and then your opponent's thinking, now they only need 2 more energy counters to tap it and draw a card. And you know what? There's a lot of stuff that when it comes in gives you 2 energy counters. So there's very realistic chance that you're going to be able to draw a card off of this thing as well, with the potential to use later energy late game to draw you cards as well. So this is another perfect example of early game it's blocking stuff, late game is giving you cards. Really good. Tier 2.
Exactly. And there aren't that many things that will get through this.
True.
So if they want to attack, you will block this and you will be able to use it again and again and again.
Yeah, and as well, as a final point, is if they're attacking you late game and you top deck this card and they're attacking you with their bomb, you can flash that in, and then they may think that they were going to kill you for attack you for lethal. You flash this thing in, now all of a sudden they left themselves exposed, maybe allowing you to win the game. So
Exactly.
A lot of versatility.
So it's just a good tier 2 card. So next one, Trophy Mage. 2 in a blue, it's a 2/2 human wizard. When she enters the battlefield, you can search your library for an artifact with convert mana cost 3. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. It is pretty situational. You have to have an artifact that is 3 mana, not more, not less. But if you have one, I think it is really good because you will draw an extra card for 3 mana with a 2/2 body.
Yeah.
But as you said before, you have to have it.
Yeah.
And that's why tier 3, because it's pretty situational.
True. Even if it does just draw that 1 card, I mean, it's okay, right?
Yeah.
Next card we have is Efficient Construction for 3 in a blue. So for 4 mana we get an enchantment that states that whenever you cast an artifact spell, so you actually have to cast the artifact spell, it's not like when a token comes in. You create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. That is really cool. The problem is, how many artifact spells are you really going to be casting?
Exactly.
I think not enough to make it worth playing this on turn 4 and not doing anything, and hopefully doing something on turn 5. Hopefully getting that 1/1 flyer. I just don't think I think it's going to be too little, too late, and not going to be worth the slot.
Yeah, because if you're playing artifacts, it'll also be some before turn 4, and you have to have it. So that's why it will probably not do enough in the game.
No.
So just put it aside.
Yeah, true.
So next one, Illusionist Stratagem. It's 3 and a blue, it's an instant. Exile up to 2 target creatures you control, then return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control, and you draw a card. So for 4 mana you draw a card, and you flicker 2 creatures of your own. And I don't really like that, because it's 4 mana, it's instant, okay, you can save 2 creatures, you can block, but what are you actually doing? And you're not actually doing anything. So
not
that's
changing
why,
anything.
No, so that's why I just put it aside.
Yeah, exactly. You're just postponing the inevitable, I think, at that point. And what if they're attacking with a flyer, for example, and you can't even block with a thing? Then it's also not doing anything. Also, on top of that, there's not that many great enter the battlefield abilities that we've seen, or not en masse. So you think, oh great, we're just going to be getting a lot of value out of this.
True. So then it does trigger Revolt, it does trigger enter battlefield abilities. That's nice, but still it's not enough.
So perfect idea, like this is a very situational card.
Yeah.
If you would have the perfect deck around it, it would be great.
Of course.
Yeah. Next card, Salvage Scuttler for 4 and a blue. So for 5 mana, we get a 4/4 crab. It's pretty big for blue, actually.
Yeah.
Blue doesn't usually get such massive creatures. And then when this guy attacks, return an artifact you control to its owner's hand. So if you don't have an artifact, fine, you can still attack. If you do have an artifact, you do have to return it back to your hand. Could be a little bit of a downside, but mostly just 4/4 for 5 is pretty good.
Exactly. It's, I mean, like we said before, 4/4 for 5. It's really good.
Just play it, right?
Yeah.
So that's tier 3 as a filler card.
Yeah.
You know, if you got something better, slot 5, then you also just put that in. But this is actually okay.
So Reverse Engineer, 3 and 2 blue is a sorcery with Improvise, and you draw 3 cards. So you will say like, you have an artifact, so for 4 mana, draw 3 cards, that's not bad. If you really need late game, 5 mana, draw 3 cards, not bad at all. So tier 3, it's just a solid filler.
Exactly. I wouldn't be trying to jump around any hoops. In the end, you could just play it for 5 to draw those 3 cards.
Exactly. And okay. if it's late game, 3 cards is pretty relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. Helps you dig through, get to your bomb or something, or your removal. Next card, and that's also the last of the uncommons, that's Windkin Raiders for 4 and 2 blues. For 6, we get a 4/3 Human Artificer with flying and improvise. Let's say it didn't have the improvise, and for 6 mana, a 4/3 flyer. Seems a bit steep, but you know what? This is pretty big, especially if you compare, for example, with the white dwarves that are also 4/3 flying. These are the cards that are going to be winning you the game. You may think that it's not enough, but it is. It really is enough to win you the game. And to tell you the truth, even if you played it on turn 6 for 6 mana, I'd still include it. And the fact that it has improvised, it has the potential to come in 1 or 2 turns earlier, I think pushes it into tier 2.
Exactly. It's just really nice. Like, imagine a 4 mana 4/3 flyer. That's just really great.
Yeah.
And even if it's 6 mana, you wouldn't be sad about it either.
No, nothing in the air is going to be able to block with it efficiently, so they're going to have to use their removal against it.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, those are the uncommons. Let's have a look at the rares. The first of our rares is Merchant's Dockhand for 1 generic mana. It's an artifact creature construct, and it's a 1/2. It also has an ability, but better if it's just a 1/2. And it's for 3 and a blue, so for 4 mana and tapping it, we get to tap X untapped artifacts we control, and then look at the top X cards of our library, put one of those cards in our hand and the rest at the bottom of our library in any order. Just drawing us cards.
Yeah.
Even if you only have 1 other artifact, it's still drawing you a card. I mean, it may not be the card you want, but it's still drawing you a card. And being able to draw a card per turn is pretty sweet. You may think 4 mana is pretty expensive. It is pretty expensive.
It is.
But late game, you've got a sink, and early game, you've got a 1/2 for 1, which could be sitting there and maybe helping pay for other stuff with its improvise. If I'm in blue, I'll probably always include it just because it can be used early game. It can also be used late game, which of course we like in limited.
Yeah, and I mean, like we said before, card drawing is important, especially in limited. So be able to look at multiple cards or even just one card. You just need another artifact, and then it just draws you a card every single turn.
Yeah.
If you have more, you can look at more cards and choose a card you draw.
Use the chump block if push comes to shove.
Exactly.
A lot of versatility.
Yeah.
Great tier 2.
So the next one, Boral, Chief of Compliance. 1 and a blue, it's a 1/3 human wizard. An instant sorcery spell you cast, costs 1 generic less to cast. And whenever you spell ability you control counters a spell, you may draw a card. And if you do, discard a card. So the counter will not be relevant in limited,
No.
but it will help you make things cheaper. Plus, it's a 1/3 for 2 mana, and that's not bad at all.
No.
So it's just a tier 3, a good tier 3.
Yeah, actually already just a 1/3 for 2 mana, that's already fine filler.
Yeah.
With the potential to make your removal spells, as long as they're not enchantment based, for example, making them cheaper. So that's good filler.
Exactly.
Right. Next card we have is Disallow for 1 and 2 blue. So for 3 mana we get an instant, and this thing is a hard counter for spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. Now normally I don't really like counter spells in limited because you have to leave your mana open and you're not doing stuff and your opponent's doing stuff, you're waiting, and then all of a sudden you lost the game while you're waiting to counter their stuff. But this one, because of the fact that it also hits those activated abilities and triggered abilities, so triggered abilities is, for example, when enter the battlefield abilities, it gives you so much extra versatility that I would like to sneak it in as a filler card, as kind of an okay removal spell.
Yeah, because the abilities sometimes are just really difficult because you can't do anything with it, and you'll be waiting with the counter spell. So if you're too late with the counter spell, you draw this afterwards, then you can also just stop someone's ability, and that's just nice.
Yeah, exactly. Very cool.
So Whir of Invention, X and 3 blue, it's an instant with Improvise, and you can search for a library of an artifact card with confirmed mana cost X or less, and put on battlefield, then shuffle your library. So it searches for an artifact with X plus 3 is how much you will pay for it, and it's an instant. So it's nice because it can grab you anything, but you have to pump a lot of mana in there, and you actually need an artifact. So if you want to block with it, spice block, you will need artifact creature. So it's just a lot of things, and that's why it's not tier 2, but it searches for stuff, and that's why it's tier 3.
Yeah, I think for tier 3 I would need to have at least a couple of relatively cheap artifact creatures, so that I can at least look for that situation where I can surprise people and blow them out in some kind of simple way.
Yeah, and if you have artifact bomb, then this is really good.
Yeah, then it's just another copy of that for a little bit more expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah. Next card we have is Quicksmith Spy for 3 and a blue. So for 4 mana we get a 2/3 Human Artificer. Body's okay. When it enters the battlefield, target artifact you control gains, tap, draw a card, as long as this guy is on the battlefield. So as long as we control this guy. So essentially it turns one of your artifacts or artifact creatures into, oh, I'm going to tap every turn to draw a card. That is really strong. This thing's hard to kill because it's 2/3, can block bears and everything. I'd actually be really happy playing this. I don't see a situation where I wouldn't want to be playing this, even if there's only a few artifacts in my deck.
Exactly. You just play an artifact before you play her, and then you play that artifact and you can immediately tap it. Or after, So just, it's really nice.
Absolutely.
So, Boar's Expertise. It's 3 and 2 blue. It's a sorcery, and return up to 3 artifacts and or creatures to their owner's hand. And you may cast a card with converted mana cost 4 or less from your hand without playing its mana cost. So you can get rid of bombs, but you can also get rid of bombs of the opponent, and then bounce one of your things that has refold, and then you play it again for free and trigger the refold.
Yeah.
So that's really nice, and that's why tier 2, because it bounces bombs, it helps you think, it helps get your refold back or something like that, and else it just gives you an extra card.
It's insane value.
Yeah,
it's absolutely insane value.
It does so many things.
There's no time when you wouldn't want to play. I'd almost, if it wouldn't be for the fact that it doesn't win the game by itself, because you really need other stuff to do that for you, it would be tier 1, but it's such a high tier 2.
Exactly, because it bounces things and then it plays something for free on its own, so that's really nice.
Of course, you get the revolt, that's great, but not even necessary. Not even. And the last of the rares, that is Aether Tide Whale for 4 and 2 blue. We got for 6 mana, we get a 6/4 flying whale. We love our flying whales here. They're freaking awesome. Look at the size of this thing. When it enters the battlefield, you get 6 energy counters. That's a lot of energy. We haven't seen stuff that gives you that much energy counters. And we also get to pay 4 energy counters and then return this guy to his hand. So it protects itself as well. You play it. It's got energy which you can use for other stuff. Let's say, for example, for that one thing that wants to draw cards.
Yeah.
And if people say, aha, I'm going to remove your whale with my spell, you say, okay, well, I'll just pay 4. I've still got another 2 extra left over. Return it to my hand. I'll play it next turn. Now you don't have your removal spell anymore.
Exactly. I don't know if you people have been watching the Kailash videos, but David is really excited about anything whale related.
Yes, I am a whale enthusiast when it comes to Magic the Gathering cards. So this is a tier 1 card, definitely going to be winning you the game. Always play it, pushes you in blue. That
exactly.
Is great. Let's have a look at the Mythic cards now.
So the Mythic is Mechanized Production. It's 2 and 2 blue. It's Enchantment Aura, Enchanted Artifact you control, and at the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of Enchanted Artifact. Then, if you control 8 or more artifacts with the same name as another, you win the game. So if you have 8 artifacts with the same name, you win the game. Which
Easy.
Exactly.
Easy.
At least this guy will help you.
Yeah.
So if you have any artifact, you just get a free one, and that's really nice. And that's what I want to play tier 1, because even the bad artifacts, it's really nice.
Let's say some of the worst artifacts, let's say the ones that you sacrifice, you pay something and somebody has to discard a card, and you draw a card, something along those lines. You're still drawing a card then every turn with this thing.
Exactly, those things will get really good because every turn you do something for 1 mana plus you draw a card.
And if you got a small artifact creature, then every turn you're getting a chump blocker.
Yeah. So overall, it's just a really good card, tier 1, because if I find this, I would actually try to do something with this.
Exactly, it's a perfect card. Awesome. All right, those are the Mythics. Let's have a look at the conclusion for blue. In conclusion, I think blue is actually a very strong color. It has some of the same overlap as white, having some okay removal, having some okay flyers, but I think actually blue has some more strength in the sense that some of its good cards are better. And on top of that, I'm not talking about, for example, the whale, things that are going to be winning you the game. And I think it has a lot more potential for good card draw, which of course in limited is very important. So I think right now I'm more excited about blue than I am about white.
Yeah, blue has some really big bodies, and I wasn't expecting that actually from blue. But yeah, it has some okay removal. White has better removal, but those bodies in blue are just really nice. So that's what I really like about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just a solid color.
Yeah, I can definitely see myself playing this during the pre-release. Also now, don't forget to subscribe, because then you get a notification about when the next videos are coming out. It gives you the edge during your set release. Also, join us on Facebook and Twitter. We're going to be having discussions about these cards and card combinations. And I guess that's it. So thanks for watching. I'm David.
I'm Stefan.
And this was Budget MTG Decks.